Hello everyone, I'm Shalika De Silva. On behalf of Samadhi Buddhist Foundation, I would like to welcome all of you to our month of January Clarity of Mind through Mindfulness session. So we'll be having our February session at the end of this month. Um, Now I would like to invite our teacher, Most Venerable Panadure Chandarathana Thero, to continue his Dhamma talk on the book To Be Seen Here and Now by Ayakema. Thiruvan Saranai Bante.
Yeah, Thero, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, Bante, we can hear you.
Fine. So let me share the screen. Okay, now we hope to continue the session. First, we'll pay homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Actually, today we basically have to discuss on mindfulness. Actually, we have discussed various topics which are relevant to mindfulness, like what are the skills that we need to develop, what is the kind of a mindset that we need to have when we are developing mindfulness. So, likewise, certain other topics relevant to mindfulness we have already touched, but there are some more to do. But today, actually, the topic is more directly on the practice of mindfulness. So one important factor of this practice is that the inner experience is most emphasized, not the book knowledge, not the say kind of knowledge that we derive by thinking. Rather, the direct experience is what we are highlighting. Typically in Dhamma, there are three types of knowledge are discussed. One is called Sutame Jnana, the knowledge that we gain through books, through hearing, through studying, and that is basically the book knowledge. That is also actually helpful. That is through which actually we are learning, we are gaining some understanding about the Buddha's teaching to some extent. If someone is preaching Dhamma, and if there are various books available, then we can read them. So we are able to gather fair amount of knowledge. So that is also quite important. And typically it is mentioned as Bahusutta, that means the learnedness, where you have learned fair amount of information, fair amount of teachings through the hearing, through the learning, through the say reading. And on the other hand, once you read, once you learned, once you heard the teaching, then you can further think about it, you can ponder about it, and you can rationalize about it. So that is actually we can consider as the chintame panya, or again we can call it as kind of a knowledge that we gather through contemplation. Because sometimes by thinking a little bit, pondering a little bit, we can further emphasize, enhance what we have simply gathered through the books. So that is also therefore a very valid type of knowledge. So that is also welcomed. But interestingly, the third one, typically what we call as the Bhavaname Panya, is where fairly high emphasized in the mindfulness practice, where you are starting with the beginner. Try to maintain a kind of a beginner's mind, and through which you are trying to get some direct experience. What's going on, what's happening right now. So the mindfulness path is therefore fairly based upon this direct experience. It doesn't mean that we are neglecting the book knowledge or neglecting the rationalizing and that kind of thing. Rather, during the practice, we need to have a beginner's mind. We need to have kind of a fresh mind, as much as possible, an unbiased mind, uh, say a clear mind. So then it is quite possible for us to have a fair understanding about what's happening. So basically, the practice is very much grounding ourselves. So in mindfulness practice, we are grounding ourselves because sometimes our minds are deviated or distracted towards various things. What has happened in the past, and what's going to happen in the future. And even in the present moment, what is happening right now is sometimes being absorbed, not maintaining kind of a balance. So certain things happening right now may be quite attractive or quite repelling. So as a result of that, mind doesn't have kind of a balance. So without getting to any of these extremes, how to have a quite a balanced, equanimous, a wakeful type of mind, present moment. So that is what we are trying to target to, trying to develop as a mindfulness practice. Now, on the other hand, we can say it is non-judgmental. So actually, at the very early stage, we can say it is little bit judgmental, because we are trying to uh, sort of focus our attention onto a selected area. Say, for example, if you are say developing walking meditation or mindfulness on walking, so we are trying to at one time, at one level, trying to focus our attention on the foot. It doesn't mean that everything else is invalid, but at the moment we are selecting it. So in that sense, we can say it is somewhat judgmental, because you are discarding everything else and you are now trying to focus your attention particularly to a selected area, to a selected phenomena. Similarly, in breathing practice, mindfulness in breathing, so there also we select the area closer to the nostril, and that is where we are paying close attention. That is therefore we can say somewhat judgmental, because we don't consider everything else. We are trying to focus our attention onto a particular selected area, a selected phenomena. But on the other hand, you can say once you selected that, so we are not trying to be judgmental. So we don't have any preferences, expecting the breath to behave in a particular way. Similarly, our walking to behave in a particular way. Rather, we allow that process to happen naturally, and we are not going to interfere. And whatever happens, we are ready to accept. In that sense, we can say it is non judgmental, where you are now focusing your attention, and now you have to maintain a very balanced, equanimous type of mind, and it is whatever it presents. So you are ready to accept in that sense. So we can say it's a kind of a radical acceptance, where you are not going to be judgmental, you are not going to reject any experience, and again you are not going to absorb any experience. Rather, you are maintaining a very beautiful balance, and again be mindful about it and not judging it. Say, for example, if breathing happens and sometimes it becomes shallow, sometimes it is deep, sometimes long, sometimes short, and sometimes say not interesting, sometimes quite dull, or sometimes boring, and sometimes even interesting, and each breath may be giving you sort of a satisfaction. So these are different levels or different situations that we can encounter during the breathing practice. But the point here is how to maintain a non-judgmental mindset while you are doing it. So that is very important. So that is where we are not going to interfere the experience. Rather, we are trying to witness the experience. It's a kind of a witnessing process. Say, for example, if you see a kind of a crime going on between two parties, so if you see it, so you can call a witness. But if you interfere and if you also get into a side and if you also get into the conflict, then you are no more a witness. But a witness is someone who has this kind of a outside look, where he see it but without a judgment, but he see it as it truly is, or as it truly are. So that is the point that we are trying to highlight here. So therefore, in Kayanupassana level, where we are emphasizing the body awareness, there also we can say it is fairly non-judgmental. So the body is changing, body is going through various kind of pleasurable and painful feelings, and say various kind of sensations. So we are not expecting a particular pattern rather we accept what is it is presenting. So that sort of a mindset is very, very important. So how to have that sort of non-interfering or impulsively reacting kind of a mindset. So uh, we are not going to impulsively react. Whatever it presents, we are ready to accept. This is a kind of a acceptive acceptance in a way, kind of a acceptance therapy even we can call it, because whatever the body present, so we can simply step back and watch, step back and look, or step back and observe carefully, investigate carefully. Actually, sometimes we even divide this into two components, where at present we establish mindfulness, and later we start comprehending it. So that is why the term sati and sampajanya come to the picture, where first we establish mindfulness and later we non-judgmentally carefully observe it. So these two actually go hand in hand, but at the very early stage, it is not that we are immediately trying to investigate, because first of all, we need to establish mindfulness. When the mind is wavering, if the mind is scattered, distracted, then of course we can't recognize what is happening, investigate what is happening. So therefore, the first part of the practice is simply to establish mindfulness. So even when we are establishing mindfulness, so if we are trying to be judgmental, if we are trying to select only the good part and neglect the bad part, what we desire, what we like, and then neglect the what we dislike, then again kind of a problem happen. So during the establishment of mindfulness, again we have to have that attitude where I am not going to interfere the process. Let the process happen naturally, and let me establish mindfulness on that particular process. So same thing happens in the Vedana Anupassana, where say uh, various feelings are happening. At the beginning, we are using the bodily feelings. It could be pleasurable, it could be painful, it could be equanimous, and we are simply trying to be aware of them. As I said, with a little gap in the sense maintaining a little distance, and then the feelings can be spreaded towards the mind also. And when the mind is going through some pleasant experience, happy experience, or when it is little sorrowful, worrying, so that also can be recognized. And that is where we are giving some opportunity for them also to manifest. It is not that we are rejecting them, we can simply accept that also as a part of the mind. So mind is going through certain worries, maybe a little regretful, and I mean at that moment, what is the kind of the feeling that we have? It may be a little sorrowful type of feeling, little painful. So that we can simply step back and watch without interfering. Then it is slowly even disappear. So that is a different part of the practice. But anyway, even in the mindfulness on the feelings, so we are trying to maintain this kind of non-judgmental, unattached, or type of experience. And interestingly, the Chittanupassana part, that is the most interesting part, where we sometimes identify with our thoughts, and we think that these thoughts should not come, and why these thoughts are coming, and we criticize ourselves for having various different kinds of thoughts. So that is where we are becoming too much, say, crucial about it, critical about it. But here in the practice, so I mean they are coming, but how about watching them? How about simply step back and looking at them? So that is where the challenge is. So the typical approach is we judge what are the thoughts, either wholesome, unwholesome even. But the interesting part in the Satipatthana practice is, even a wholesome thought comes, we have a similar approach. Even an unwholesome thought comes, we have a same approach. It's not that we are trying to welcome wholesome thoughts and reject unwholesome thoughts. So we give them a kind of an equal opportunity, equal value. We are not going to promote wholesome thoughts, and we are not going to promote or demote unwholesome thoughts, whatever happens, we are non-judgmentally looking at it. So this is where I think the non-judgmental process is fairly evident, where the thought processes are non-judgmentally observed. Even in the Dhammanupassana, we can say at the early stages, so you are looking at various hindrances, which we can consider as unwholesome. And in that latter stage, you are even watching various very wholesome factors like enlightenment factors. So, but the thing is, both are looking at in the same angle, or rather, say, same kind of an attitude. You are not trying to promote anything. You are not trying to sort of reject anything. Rather, maintaining sort of a equal attitude. Anyway, rather when we are going towards the Bojjanga and then Noble Eightfold Path, so that area, so there is more tendency towards kind of more mature kind of practice, where the Satipatthana is growing to other levels. Mindfulness practice is growing to other levels. So that we can later discuss. Uh, and the other thing is, this whole practice has to have this knowing part. It is not unknowing. Unknowing in the sense, at this level, you should know what is happening right now. So sometimes when the mind becomes sleepy, so you don't know what is going on. And again, when the mind is dull, you don't know what is happening. If the mind is distracted, again, you don't know what is happening. And if you have any kind of a resistance towards the present experience, again, you are not ready to accept what is happening. So we need to avoid any of these situations in order to have the proper practice. So you have to be fully awake and have to have a little fresh mind, a little inquiring mind, and it has to be well focused. And again, you are ready to accept, not resist, ready to accept. And at that moment, be aware what is happening. So you know exactly what is happening. So your presence is there. So the presence of the mind, you are awake and needs to know what is happening right now. So let's take a few examples. Say for example, breathing. So right now in breath happens, right now out breath happens, right now in breath is longer, right now out breath is shorter. So likewise, so you know exactly what is happening. So this knowing part, it's not that when breathing happens you look at outside and look at various other things and you can't understand what's happening in the breathing process. Rather, you are fully aware what is happening in the breathing process. So you should know that. So this knowing part is something that Buddha highlighted, sampajano satima. In Satipatthana Sutta, atapi sampajano satima. So you are maintaining a kind of relentless kind of effort. You are fully aware what is happening, and at the same time you are mindful. So the mindfulness practice therefore quite coupled with this knowing part. So you should know what is happening. So what typically happens is, say for example, while you are brushing teeth, if you are thinking what you are going to do after you reach school or after you reach say to your office, so then you don't know what is happening right now. So you are imagining something, and you should know what is happening physically right now. It doesn't mean that we can't think. Actually, we can think even while knowing. So say for example, if you want to plan something, so you can plan, but under the supervision of mindfulness, where you are very aware what the mind is thinking. So therefore the thinking process is also under the same category, where you can be fully aware what is being thinked, what is being thought. So right, likewise, so what I want to highlight here is this knowing part. And then in the feelings also, say if there is a pleasurable feeling happen, so you are very aware, okay, this is a pleasurable feeling. When there's a say equanimous feeling happen, then you are fully aware, okay, this is an equanimous feeling. Painful feeling, yes, this is a painful feeling. So you accept, you are very aware, you are well grounded with it. You are not rejecting, you are maintaining very beautiful balance. There are kind of changes going to happen in the future as you are continuing your practice. When you are reaching some levels of insight practice, that's a different story, but we are talking today more into the beginning of the practice, or how to establish our practice. So at that level, so understanding and knowing what is happening present moment is quite important, where you are fully aware, okay, this is the in breath, okay, this is the out breath, okay, this is left leg, okay, this is the right leg, or these are the kind of sensations happening, so these are the kind of thoughts happening. So likewise, you are fully aware, you are not sleepy, you're not maintaining kind of a dull kind of a mind, drowsy type of a mentality. Rather, you are fully awake. And again, so when you are doing like that, it is not that you are believing someone else's thing. Rather, you directly know what is happening. So direct experience, direct knowledge. It is not that you are trying to prove what is available in the book. Rather, you yourself going through the experience, you are doing your own noble quest, and you know what is happening. So it is not a kind of a belief system, therefore. It's not a blind faith. Rather, you are now experimenting what is happening right now. And you are clearly knowing about the experience. And then now, one interesting area is this mindfulness of the thinking process. So when you reach Chittanupasana, actually different levels of understanding can happen. So you can understand, okay, different thoughts are going on, various kind of thinking happening, and sometimes you may understand, okay, certain thoughts are not useful and certain thoughts are harmful. Now here, what we are trying to do is not during the experience, in the sense that not during your, say for example, the sitting session. Rather, now you are developing it to the other situations as well, and you are watchful about your mind. So the practice has to be expanded. It is not limited to the sitting, it is not limited to the walking. Now you are somewhat careful of what the mind is thinking. So even outside the meditation cushion, so you are fully aware as much as possible what the mind is thinking. On such situations, you may understand, okay, kind of a proliferation is going on, again and again thinking, overthinking going on. Sometimes mind is fully distracted. Immediately you understand, okay, for a long time I was completely unmindful, and mind was thinking in a particular side, particular direction, again and again, same type of thoughts are happening, kind of a rumination is going on, or maybe worrying is happening. So these are the areas now we need to correct, where it is not, the practice is limiting ourselves only to the sitting and the walking. Now you are trying to be fully aware what is happening outside those two situations, say mindful sitting, mindful walking, apart from those two areas. So what in general mind is thinking. So this is where we are fully somewhat consider about the well-being of our mind. You are now trying to be a little careful of what mind is thinking, not allowing mind to simply drive us towards various harmful passages. Rather, trying to be a little careful of what mind is thinking. On this angle, so Buddha actually has given various methods to little give a control to our mind, little give a proper direction to the mind. And one thing he highlighted is the replacement of harmful thoughts. Say if you understood, okay, there are certain harmful thoughts are going on, and if you can simply be mindful about it, if it is not, I mean, if it is immediately disappearing, then no problem. But Sometimes when the mindfulness is weaker, like I said during the outside of the session, say your mindfulness may not be fully sharp. At that time, even though you are mindful that these type of harmful thoughts are going on, they may even continue. Even though you are little weakly mindful, still that mindfulness is not enough to stop those thoughts. So so the thinking process may be continuing. So at that time, we better replace that thinking with a different type of unharmful or beneficial kind of thinking. So that is one method that Buddha highlights, where, say, for example, if the mind is thinking again and again about some particular person, and say he's not a pleasant person that you are approving, rather he is somewhat you consider as that you don't like. Now you are getting certain, say, even harmful thoughts and even sort of hateful thoughts. And the moment you understand, okay, these thoughts are harmful to me, one situation is to replace them with some loving kindness thoughts. May not be to the same person, maybe, but you start loving kindness to someone else. So you are completely replacing these hateful thoughts with loving thoughts, loving kindness thoughts. Or else, suppose you understood, okay, this is something going on, now the mind is getting to this wrong cycle. And if you have some other purpose to do, another task to do, immediately you are thinking about that task. Say you have an assignment or you have a kind of a job to complete. Now you start planning that. It is less harmful than the previous one. Now the previous one is actually boiling the mind, kind of burning the mind, because it is hatred. But now it is little harmful because it is simply the designing, it's the sort of thinking, it is sort of anticipate, or rather you can say designing. So these are little harmful with compared to the previous one. So this is a kind of a strategy. So later, actually, this process also can be stopped because this is something that you purposely started. You may have a certain control into this process than the previous one. Now it's a matter of replacing that harmful thought process with this less harmful thought process. And the next method that Buddha highlights is to understand the danger of what we think. So outside your meditation, if you understood, okay, mind is thinking certain harmful thoughts, and you need to recognize, okay, these harmful thoughts are really affecting my meditation. So I'm trying to develop a kind of a very kind, grateful attitude in myself, but these thoughts are really harmful to me. And you understand the danger. So if I continue these thoughts, okay, I can get into a quarrel, I can get into an argument. So our, say, relationship might get damaged, so my reputation get affected, so my meditation going to affect, again my mind get into the wrong attitude, wrong cycle, wrong pattern, and I'm going away from nibbana. So likewise you can understand the danger, so that helps mind to stop it. So that's another method Buddha mentioned. And another method is when harmful thoughts are going on, you completely distract yourself. Say your harmful thoughts are happening, say worrying is happening. Now this is quite useful in certain depressive cycles. Certain sometimes mind is continuously thinking about something has happened, a mistake has happened, a regretful kind of thoughts are going on and on, remorse is going on such situation. We need to completely distract the mind. Say for example, you distract yourself to a song, for example. It may be little joyful, and then the allowing mind to be really get into that depressive cycle, depressive mood. So so that is where actually you are trying to kind of replace wrong or harmful type of thoughts with less harmful, and again a completely different subject. Later actually you need to ignore that as well. You need to completely calm down the mind. Definitely you need to do that. But at the moment, if you understood, okay, these thoughts are really harmful, really burning the mind, if I continue, definitely I'll be in big trouble, then you can simply look at something else. Say you start watching a movie, start say reading a news, or start uh, listening to a music. So these two are not really, I mean, harmless. They also have certain distractive situation, but it is less harmful compared to the previous one. Or you may involve with the playing, something like that. So later, actually, you can ignore, you can stop what you have taken also, and then you can further calm down the mind. That's the next step. But right now, if you understood, okay, the what is going on right now is extremely harmful, you can do that kind of a distracting kind of situation strategy. And another thing with the highlighted is recognizing the beginning or the previous stage of the present thinking process. Say you understood that mind is thinking on something, and if you want to stop it, another approach what Buddha mentioned is, actually we can say it is based on yoniso manasikara, wise attention, where you are trying to look at the previous episode. Currently the mind is talking on a particular episode, so how it come to this level, what was mind thinking previously, what is the previous episode. And if you can remember that, okay, now you are going to the previous episode. So likewise, now you are slowly going to the source, to the root. Ultimately everything disappears. It's another very interesting mechanism. So rather than allowing the mind to take us for a ride, so we step back and watch these thoughts, and we understood, okay, they are so powerful. Simple mindfulness is not enough, or my mindfulness is still not that strong to completely fade it off. So let me do this kind of a little introspection, little investigation, how this has started. So rather than promoting the ongoing story, what you do is simply trying to penetrate and to look at the source. So that also helps to stop the wrong thought of this thinking process, because you are not promoting it. And on the other hand, you can pay attention to the bodily activities when thought process is going on. Rather than promoting it, you can simply deviate to attention to the bodily activities. Say your breathing, rising and falling of the mind, sorry, the abdomen, and say you do some mindful walking and paying attention to those. So those kind of bodily activities, when you are giving more emphasis, then the thinking may stop, and not adding value to thoughts. So if we are giving some addition or any sort of a big value to thoughts, then they can overwhelm you. But if you know, okay, they are merely thoughts, why should I bother about them? Why do I take them so seriously? They are merely thoughts. So likewise, if we are able to devalue them, so that is another strategy we can say it is possible. So likewise, now it is not merely the formal kind of mindfulness practice, rather you are looking after yourself. So the mental well-being is where quite important, and till mindfulness is catching up, so now you are taking care of yourself. And say later, when mindfulness is well developed, actually you don't need to use most of these methods, because the mindfulness will take care of the whole thing. So you are capable of understanding a thinking process at its very early stage. Then you are you are better off to handle it merely through mindfulness, and even with clear comprehension. And on the other thing is, we can consider thinking process, how to little do a little bit of correction. So promoting the wholesome side, and sort of uh, not promoting the unwholesome side, because here not merely the thinking, the rather the we can say that the beneficial qualities like mindfulness, concentration, wisdom. So these are quite common, and not merely the thinking, but say even to the mental good qualities, wholesome qualities. But at the early stage, so this may be applicable where you understood, okay, more constantly mind is thinking wrongly, constantly it is worried, constantly it is overthinking or kind of harmful thinking going on. So then you have to take an action. So there are these sort of efforts are quite useful where you understood, okay, I need to uh, reduce this harmful thinking, I need to promote some beneficial type of thinking. And on the other hand, we can say a certain kind of inner script is sometimes happening and we being driven by them. Now, this is where we get into another level of mindfulness practice where you are doing kind of a self investigation. uh, Say when a beautiful object is seen, so one person may look at it in one angle, another person may look at it from another angle. So likewise, so the reaction may be person dependent. It is not merely the object has all these kind of triggers, rather the attitude of the person, his perception about the situation, and his upbringing, his say culture, all these conditioning available in his mind is influenced into the experience. So these are the areas that we can further look into when we are in the path. So how our inner traits are operating in a particular experience. So this we can say not the beginning of the mindfulness, rather when you are continuing your path, you may understand certain traits available in your mind, and so those traits are making a significant influence into your experience. On such situation, you probably may not have the capacity to stop yourself and to get a proper decision, because your mind is colored by the likes and dislikes, mind being colored by your previous conditioning, preferences, or kind of judgmental type of behavior coming from your side. So these are the areas we can carefully now understand, okay, these things are in a way a certain script going on in the mind. So the mind being very much like programmed, pre-programmed. How can I stop that? So that is where another beautiful practice we can say. So you do a very careful investigation, what's really going on internally. So why am I like to this situation? Why I really like that person? Why I really like that particular color? Why I really like that particular food? Why I really like that particular experience? So that may be a kind of an inner conditioning available in our mind. So understanding so these likes and dislikes what we have. So what are the tendencies we have? As I mentioned, two people may have two different kinds of tendencies in their mind to the same object, to the same person, to the same situation, to the same incident, but they are approaching differently depending on their mental, say, culture, or we can say how the mind being conditioned. So later in the vipassana practice, therefore, we need to find out a method to keep the mind unconditioned, to keep the mind unattached, to keep the mind in a more equanimous state, a clear state, so that it is fairly unconditioned. So it is not colored by the all those tendencies. So that is another area we can explore and the latter stage of this practice. So we can directly call it as vipassana practice. Actually, I like to conclude today's presentation here because these are the areas actually we are exploring in the mindfulness practice. And even though we started with simple practices, it is something that we are navigating through kind of a self exploration, understanding ourselves, and overcoming harmful thoughts, promoting, say, beautiful thoughts, and then even replacing or uh, say calming down those thoughts and having a very peaceful, mindful, awakeful state of the mind, and then understanding the inner tendencies, harmful tendencies, and even to purify them. So likewise, it's a kind of a very beautiful uh, path consisting many different areas, and that is what we are trying to do in our practice. Okay, then we can get into today's practice session. So we have about 15 minutes uh, to practice, and probably now you can keep your body in a comfortable position. You can take a deep breath, hold it for a while, and slowly release. Relax yourself. Again, you can take a deep breath, hold it for a while, and slowly release. Keep it a very fresh mind. Don't think about anything. Rather, have a very relaxed mind, a pleasant mind. Try to be aware of what is happening right now. Probably you can hear various sounds. Time to time, my voice. Time to time, birds chirping. Maybe the sound of a fan, sound of the wind. Maybe some people are talking, sounds of vehicles. So different sounds. They're happening right now. And we are not sort of judging them. So they are merely sounds. They come and go. So different sounds happen at different places, at different directions. So right now we are maintaining a very open mind. It is not positioned or located at a particular place, rather it is quite open. Again, it is quite receptive, and again non-judgmental. Different sounds, they occur by themselves or due to various causes. We are not interfering, we are not neglecting, we are fully aware of them, and then they disappear, and we again are fully aware. So these sounds happen in the mindful space. They appear and then disappear. You are maintaining a balanced, equanimous, open mind. Now, slowly, again, you can take a deep breath, hold it for a while, and then slowly release. Come back to yourself. See whether you can recognize these sensations. So your eyes are closed. There may be a slight sensation at your eyelids. Lips are gently touching. There may be a soft sensation there. Jaws are not tightly coupled and they are relaxed. And overall, in your face, there is no tension. You are trying to enjoy the present moment. You are in a present kind of a attitude, mood. So there is no any tension in your face. Probably you can have a slight smile. Head straight, neck straight, shoulders in a relaxed position. Hands may be resting on your lap, on your knees. There is no tension in your arms as well. And you can recognize how clothes are touching the body. As you further move down, probably you can recognize heart vibration or rising and falling of the abdomen. So these are different experiences that you can directly know they are happening right now. So when the attention is taken towards the body, you can recognize all these present moment activities, bodily activities, bodily processes, and try to be aware of them, fully know them. And as we further moves down, probably you can recognize how certain pressure is experienced at your buttocks and your legs are bent. Legs muscles are relaxed. So overall you are in a very relaxed position. Slowly you can bring your attention back to the nostril and try to establish mindfulness there. Be aware of in breath, be aware of out breath. Allow the body to naturally breathe and ready to accept whatever happens. Even if sounds happen, don't get distracted or rather don't get disturbed. Simply slowly come back. If there are distracting thoughts, don't criticize yourself. Simply acknowledge those thoughts and again come back. Come back to the breathing. So we are now trying to pay more attention on breathing. That is our selected object, primary object. And give an opportunity for the mind to fully aware of in breath, fully aware of out breath. And if your mind is well established, try to see various facets of the breathing. Whether it is longer, shorter, cooler, warmer, from which nostril it is going in, out. All these different facets, different information of the breathing, you can investigate if the mindfulness is well established. Do it in a relaxed manner. There is no hurry, no rush. Okay, now actually you can open your eyes and come back to the session. So if you have any question, you can ask, and if you want to share your experience, that also welcome. And again, if you have any question related to today's session, that is also you can ask.
Um, Also, you can send it through the chat as well.
Yeah.
Bhante, I have a question actually, like regarding the today's session.
Mhm.
You mentioned that knowing is a sati sampajanya.
Mhm.
So, what you call like a going into detailed investigation? Is it also sati sampajanya?
Definitely, yes. It's a kind of a, I mean, process, and immediately you can't know everything because mindfulness is not well established. So we are using one significant kind of a quality to establish mindfulness. Say, for example, while walking, say when your foot is touching the ground, maybe the hardness may be the, say, most significant quality that you may understand, for example, and then you can use it as a method to establish mindfulness. Again and again this hardness happens, and you know that, and you are keeping that as the uh, binding object for the mind. So as a result of that, mind is now less distracted, more and more concentrated towards that walking process. Later, now suppose you are fully able to maintain your attention on that walking path, walking process without distractions. Now, less and less distractions. You are fully aware from the beginning to the end, from beginning of the walking path to the end of the walking path. You can be fully aware of this whole process. That means mindfulness is established now. You are fairly established on mindfulness. Now, don't stop at that level. Now you need to further investigate. Now you are capable of understanding, okay, it is not only hardness available. Now it may be softness even available. It may be, say, smoothness available. It may be heaviness, lightness, maybe sometimes little heat, little cold, uh, different levels of movements, vibrations. So likewise, now your investigation is so careful, so precise, uh, comprehensive. So as a result of that, you are able to understand more and more situations of this whole process. So that is where clear comprehension is now being enhanced more than the previous stage. And interesting point is, at another level, this whole process starts changing. So I mean, logically, if we think, so this information has to grow to a unlimited level, no, but it doesn't happen like that either. So as you are continuing the practice, at one point it starts changing to another level. So that we need to experience. I mean, you can read books and understand, I mean, this kind of thing is happening, but important thing is you need to go through the process and go through at as different stages of your practice, and another level, another stage in your practice, this whole process start changing to another level, where all these different details are getting blurred or are not interested. Everything become very much like mixed. So now it's another level.
Yeah, yeah, I have experienced that like once, doing the walking meditation, especially like then one time like I wasn't like feeling anything kind of thing, but
Mm,
my mindfulness is there, but I was not interested in like, just basically watching it,
correct,
like, okay, what
correct.
exactly is happening. And
Yeah.
because I was feeling very peaceful in my mind, and
Mm,
I like to stay in that state rather than, bothering my mind, okay, just go to into details. So
mm,
yeah, what you said was like I have experienced it. And the
mm,
other thing, in another question I have is like when a like a harmful thought, right? So in
mm,
that case, you try to find like the root cause of it. Like, why am I
mhm,
like feeling that?
mhm,
Sometimes
mhm,
I feel like there is no association between like anything like happened previously or anything like that. It suddenly just comes. And
Mhm.
uh, so in such a case, like basically I'm hitting a like a blind ball, like, okay, I don't see the root cause to it. It's just it, it came to my mind.
Correct.
Is it like a maybe like our like a past life kind of like a traits that we
Hmm. Yeah,
have?
there may be different reasons. I mean, we can't exactly pinpoint, okay, what is exactly the reason why it has happened, maybe due to past karma, due to past life experience, or something, or, I mean, we experienced during our childhood and we forgot it, and it was fairly uh, uh, waiting in your subconscious level, and then it came to the surface. So many reasons may be available, and I mean, it's very difficult to pinpoint why exactly this thought has happened. So there may be various causes causing this. Actually, the process here is to understand the previous episode, the previous stage of this present. Now assume that you are going on in a kind of a proliferation. Now different episodes are there in the story. So you are now in a particular episode, and now rather than enjoying that and promoting that, now you are deviating, or rather you are starting a new thing to investigate how did I come to this level. In order to reach this episode, what did I thought about few minutes ago. Now you are changing your attention to that previous situation, previous episode. Now assume that you remember, okay, I was thinking about him. As a result of that, I came to that. Okay, now you again come back to the previous one. Now when you are thinking about him, how you started thinking about him? Oh my goodness, I found a letter. Okay, now this letter triggered me thinking about him. So then how letter came? Okay, now letter was on the cupboard. Okay, I was going to there to take a phone call. Okay, that was how the phone call is the one previously happened. So likewise, the kind of a incident wise, we are going backward. So that helps to actually now all of a sudden you probably understand, okay, I can even stop thinking, because you are not promoting. The previous episodes are not that interesting sometimes, I mean. So you understand, okay, it's why should I do it now? I mean, it's something not that significant. I mean, these are some minor things. Why should I bother myself too much on thinking on these lines? Let me stop it. Now probably you are in a better situation even to discard whole thinking and come back to your senses, rather than being more, sort of emotionally driven by the thinking process. Now you are in a better situation, so that things are little under control. You can calm down yourself. You can stop that distractive or harmful type of thinking. Now you are more in a calm, relaxed mood back. So actually these methods we need to practically try. Actually Buddha mentioned a particular order also. I mean, you can start with replacement, and then you can try sort of recognizing the danger. And if even that doesn't work, you can try say this kind of approach, what you call distraction yourself to a something harmless. Even that can't happen, I mean, you can't do it, then you can look at the causes, the previous episode kind of thing. So likewise, I mean, different approaches are available, and Buddha sometimes mentioned, okay, you can start from the very easy, and by applying these methods, probably you can find out, okay, this is the method most applicable, most working for me. And that method you can immediately try as your first strategy. If it doesn't work, you can go to another strategy, something like that. The important thing is, because we as human beings nowadays are too much thinking, we are overthinking, and this thinking is really harmful to us, and it is taking us to various depressive moods, and even to harm ourselves, even to harm another person. So thinking is a very strong skill actually, but if we don't know how to use it properly, then it is like we are using a sword to harm ourselves. So therefore, thinking is somewhere something that we need to be careful what mind is thinking. Is it really useful? Is it really harmful? So likewise, we need to be little careful of what the mind is thinking. So the vipassana practice and again the mindfulness practice give us an opportunity to have a little bit of control and to look after ourselves and fully aware of what the mind is thinking. And if you are aware, if it is a harmful thinking process, then you are in a better position to to look after it, to ignore it, or to displace it, replace it, completely to stop it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Bhante. And
Yeah.
actually, like what I have experienced, like, when I'm trying to find the root cause to it, and
Hmm.
basically the intensity of that, that harmful thought, stressful like a thought, it goes
Hmm.
down, and because my
Exactly.
attention is on something, another path,
Something
like
else.
trying to find the
Exactly.
cause. So,
Exactly.
yeah. So at the end, like, oh, I'm feeling better now, trying to find the
Definitely.
cause. So, yeah, I have.
Yes. Yes.
So much, Bhante. Thiruvan
Yeah.
Sarnai.
Yeah. Everyone, Sanmai. Shalika, if there are no more questions, probably then we can wind up the session. If you have any more notices, please go ahead.
Yeah. So since this is our January session, so we had to do it today. Our February session will be on Friday 24th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's uh, 25th
So,
Saturday at 7 a.m. Sri Lankan time. I also want to thank all of you for being with us today, and hope to see you in another few weeks, basically. And have a good night.
yeah. Yeah. Everyone, Sanmai.